Okej. Aha. To już jesteś na antenie. Możesz prowadzić.
Skoro jestem już na antenie, to pozwolę sobie zabrać głos. Szanowni Państwo i widzowie Nordisk Trygghet, serdecznie Państwa witam i wszystkich naszych uczestników online. Czekamy jeszcze na wyświetlenie się prezentacji za mną na tym ekranie. Niestety kopnąłem w przewód i coś się rozpięło. Ale myślę, że za chwilkę będziemy gotowi, aby faktycznie rozpocząć część anglojęzyczną. Sesję anglojęzyczną poprowadzi wraz ze mną Piotr Szczeciński, zastępca dyrektora do spraw ratownictwa projektu metodowego rachunkowym Śląskie. Ja nazywam się Jacek Wawrzynek. My name is Jacek Wawrzynek and I would like to invite our guests. Our guests from Norway, United Kingdom and Bielsko-Biała. Bielsko-Biała is Poland. Our guests will tell you something about European Pre-Hospital Research Network. Who are we and who is the CPR Quality Officer? Our guest, Tomasz Wilczak, PhD, Vice Dean of Medical University at Bielsko-Biała. Kacper Sumer, also PhD and East Midlands Ambulance Services. Carl Webster, Nottingham Trent University, PhD. And Morten Bakkerud, Oslo Metropolitan University. Tomasz will translate everything, I hope.
Try to do my best.
You can try in Norwegian.
We are talking with Morten. Morten is from Oslo. Our Jacek Borowiak, Nordisk Trygghet, is also from Oslo.
Yes.
So you can speak in your language, and Jacek will translate everything from Nordisk language. My job is not easy, really. To talk about something because we don't have
The weather.
exactly.
Talk about the weather.
Weather. Weather is not good. It's raining outside.
What is bad? That's really bad right now.
Perhaps we try not to speak.
Jacek and Morten, you were friends before our meeting here, or
no? This was the first time meeting here. But I heard of you. Maybe ask the crowd. Maybe you guys prefer the English language for the whole session without the translations. What do you think about it?
That's okay if I start? Okay.
I think that it will be kind of easy English, so everyone, I think that will understand.
I agree.
Use easy English.
Okay, so, yeah,
really easy English. I am, you are, he is, she is. That's all.
It's great. It's great. So I'm just the moderator of the whole discussion. Discussion in English language. Okay. If there are any questions, I can translate after the session. Okay. We got 1 hour and 20 minutes for the whole. We got the two main topics. The first one is about the European network, and the second one is differences between the European emergency systems. So at the end of the session, if you have any questions, you can ask the questions to the guys in Norway about the functioning of the system, about the paramedic practicing, or even the educational systems. Of course, we got some plan for this session. We'll ask some other questions. Let's do this at the end of the session.
Is yours.
Okay, so the plan is that I should start in Polish language, but if we change language to English, so at the beginning, you see is the European Hospital Research Network. It's an international research project that we want to say a few words. Maybe it would be interesting to be a part of that kind. So I want to introduce my friends again, but this is a look at the map. We are from the different countries. Kasper Szumela. He works in Advanced Ambulance Services and he is the head of education. He's a very young guy and he's the head of education at the quite big emergency department. They got almost 4,000 workers over there. Dr. Carl Webster. He works as the lecturer at Nottingham University in London. He takes care of those minor research site in the whole UN. He is a professional advisor about the research in our group. Dr. Morten Bakkerud, who is a real practitioner. He works in the ICU, intensive care. He works in emergency department in Oslo, and he is a lecturer at the University, Oslo Metropolitan University. He has a lot of experience in the field of emergency medicine. And my name is Tomek Ilczak, and you know me, I work. Yes. My name is Tomek Ilczak. I work. ICU intensive care unit here in Zabrze, and I'm the vice dean for the students at the University of Bielsko-Biała and Faculty of Health Sciences. I think that's all. Can we start from? Maybe a good translation, so we're all concerned.
So, thank you very much for inviting us today. I want to start by talking about the European Research Network and talking about a couple of the projects that we're involved in at the moment. So, firstly, a bit about the history of the. So, as we said, Kasper is the set of this and is now the chair of the. I think we found that there was a real lack of cohesiveness about research in pre-hospital care. So there was a lot of people doing little bits of research that were really joined up across Europe. So there's a real kind of gap for us to fill and produce a network that supports in doing research and trying to share problems across the country. So when we joined together, both in the UK, Norway and Poland, we realised there was a lot of the same sorts of challenges in pre-hospital care. So paramedic practices has the same problems across Europe. So we want to work together to kind of address some of those problems. So in terms of our vision for the EPRN, we want to increase the amount of pre-hospital, increasing the use of research to influence the clinical practice as well as pre-hospital paramedic education. So trying to have a better evidence base for pre-hospital clinicians. Our mission is to be a really open and accessible group, so inviting people in who don't naturally have a big kind of experience in research. So we are happy to work with people who are from different backgrounds, so whether you've done research before or whether research is new to you. So we want to be an open and accessible group. Okay, so this is something that I brought across from the UK. So I wanted to think about who can get involved in this. In the UK, we have a career framework that looks at different aspects of paramedic career. So we're trying to push the idea that a career in paramedic practice is not just clinical practice. So we should be working in advancing in our clinical practice as a kind of career route. I guess a normal career route in the UK, we need to work as a paramedic and then advance into urgent care or critical care as a clinician. We want to also have different career pathways, so working in things like research and development, education routes, so working in academia and education, as well as leadership and management. So this career framework is from the College of Paramedics in the UK. Support paramedics to have a diverse range of. So research is a big part of that, or is a big pathway for us to use as paramedics to advance our career. I think research is probably in all of our careers, even if we don't know it. So as clinicians, we should be using evidence understanding research to provide the best care possible. You can also be involved in research as a participant, so we have student participants in our research, as well as practicing clinicians. And hopefully, one of our goals with the EPRN is to increase the amount of people that want to get into research or to do their own original research. You can't do the joke about
Yeah. This is not a picture of, from Carl's son. It's his professional career in England.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm more of a scientist than I am good at drawing. So this is an example of my career, or the profile of my career. So I worked for an ambulance service. I registered as a clinician, as a paramedic in the UK, so that was with East of England Ambulance Service. I practiced as a paramedic on an ambulance. In terms of my career pathway, with the clinical practice, that's where I stopped. So I didn't advance like some of these guys did in terms of their clinical practice. I moved across to academia and started working in a university in the UK and started expanding this area of my career. So worked through as a lecturer and senior lecturer, and now I have a team of senior lecturers and lecturers that deliver courses across the university. As well as the education side, the EPRN has allowed me to advance my research and development side as well. So starting to get involved in research projects and publishing work with the EPRN. Okay, so I just want to talk about a couple of smaller projects that we've done with the EPRN and show the type of people that get involved with the group and with our research. So we've all used simulation across Europe for paramedic practice, and simulation is a growing environment or a growing technique that we use for education and for improving our clinical practice. There's lots of, or starting to become more research into the impact or the positive impact of using simulation-based education for our work, as well as things like increased equipment and advances with digital technology. So these are all things that have really helped build simulation into paramedic practice. So here's some examples of simulation that I've done in Nottingham, so in the university. We've got a burns victim, and we have a simulated kind of kitchen that's been on fire. We've got alleyways and things like that for stabbings that we've used it for, and mock railway lines. We're starting to have a look at things like extended reality, so using digital technology for extended reality. This is great. We really enjoyed building more simulation into our curriculum and our education. But there's still a lot of things that we don't know about, a lot of things that we need answering. So this project is an example of where we've taken experts in the field who've worked with the EPRN to answer some of these questions. So we involved Helen Medycyny, who's the clinical director at Gordon University for simulation, and Aggie Samira, who's a simulation leader at the University of Chester. These guys got involved with the EPRN and worked with ourselves to build a project looking at evaluating simulation-based education. So this has just been put together, we just finished this project, and it's out for publication now. The important thing for this project was we helped support a new academic. So this was a new academic in the university, just started working as a lecturer, had no experience of doing research, but she was able to get involved with some research. So as a team, we helped support her to run the project. We advised her and mentored her through that process. And now she's the first author on this publication, and starting to do her own research on her own. Another example is we've done a project on student paramedic violence. So this is a really nice example where we work with somebody who's not in academia, so doesn't work at a university. We had a paramedic come to her to talk about violence that they experienced on placement during their studies before they registered as a paramedic. And we were approached by this paramedic and said that they want to make changes about their experience in placement. So this was a paramedic who works full-time as a paramedic, no experience working in academia, no experience with research, but wanted to make a change to paramedic. So we've supported her, so Casper is mentoring her through the project, mentoring a new lecturer who's also keen to get into research. So this is an ongoing project that we're doing. Translation. So yeah, there's some examples of some of the projects that we've been involved in. And hopefully from today you can see that we're really keen to support people who are new to research and who want to understand getting into research. Please contact us. We've got some, the website there through the QR code, and you can contact us through the website as well. But if you've got ideas for research or you want to start getting into research, in an area of your career profile, then hopefully we can support you with it.
W związku z tym, że odpuściliśmy to tłumaczenie, to pozwolę sobie w naszym rodzinnym języku podsumować to, o czym Karol powiedział w takich trzech najbardziej istotnych słowach, a mianowicie skupić się na tym, co najważniejsze, jeżeli chodzi o to przesłanie, które niesie za sobą cała sieć EPRM. Dlatego, że w pewnym sensie jest to takie miejsce, które jest zupełnie niezagospodarowane, jeżeli chodzi o pracę ratowników medycznych. My trochę chcemy wyjść naprzeciw temu, żeby wyciągnąć z tego pudła, w którym się pisze, że wszędzie jest defibrilacja, intubacja, zakładanie w płuć, kardiowersje, jakieś tam dodatkowe leki i ustawa. I tak, żebyście mogli trochę szerzej popatrzeć na to, że to wcale nie jest takie trudne. Nie wymaga jakiegoś układu finansowego, który każdy chce być zaangażowany w badania kliniczne może osiągnąć. To nie jest tak, że to jest niemożliwe. Ratownicy medyczni nie są tylko i wyłącznie wynosić kusze, ale równie dobrze mogą się uskuteczniać na polu badań klinicznych. Jest to udokumentowane. Mamy kilka przykładów takich żywo, nawet wchodzących w tej konferencji. Osób, które są ratownikami jakby z pierwszego wykształcenia, pracowali wiele lat w zespołach ratownictwa medycznego, a w tym momencie zajmują się prowadzeniem badań klinicznych, które naprawdę można publikować na bardzo szerokiej arenie międzynarodowej. Właściwie każdy, kto tylko chce, może spróbować. To nie wymaga jakiegoś specjalnego wysiłku, ani nakładów finansowych. Właśnie w pierwszej części.
Hello everyone. So what really is just to summarize a little bit what the area is about. Just give you an example of the projects that we did, and mainly the one about our sort of flagship study proof of concept. So the one about CPR quality officer. We conducted this randomized trial test our new intervention, and I think it's crucial number of things that focused on. One is about that there are questions that is our best place to answer, and another is that we can sort of grow our own researchers, and there are a lot of experienced professors and researchers out there who are willing to help us increase our research output, and then also that we may come up with ideas and innovation to help us solve the question. And CPR quality officer is the question we really want to focus on. Whether we can develop an idea and intervention that will improve the quality of CPR performed out of hospital scenario context. And all the key principles behind PRN is fairly novel. It's not overly creative or novel, but I think this principle is about value, and if you think about the context of this study, so we want to check the quality of CPR out of hospital context. It would be very difficult and very costly. Probably talking about a very long time. And actually, how do you measure the performance out there? And how do we make a difference? And this is where a simulation, randomized control trial, comes in very handy. And we actually are paying to almost insist that any relevant randomized control trial is first tested in the simulation environment before it goes to the patient. And so what we did with this one was we and we our network. None of us is a statistician, but there are a couple of people in the network who can help with got the required expertise in it. They estimated that we need about 200 participants in our study to test to achieve this statistical significance of our measure. So straight away, at the time I was a lecturer at the University in Manchester, and we had about 50 each, so it was quite difficult to, we would never recruit all our students to take part in research. We don't like. So one of the benefits of the network was that I spoke to Tom, to Carl, and we collected data, increasing sample size of our study, and very soon it became quite a few participants for our project. And the way I was is that we managed to overcome with thinking, planning and working together. So we had to ensure that we set up the data collection in the same way. But we train the people involved in the study. And so going back a little bit to what Al was saying about helping multidisciplinary researchers, that research. So in each of our teams, we have people who want to conduct research, contribute to evidence genesis, but they haven't got the time, the skills, the knowledge to actually do it. So it was a fairly easy that just explained that this is how we collected. This was important. Exposure to contribute to that. But what the intervention actually was? So I assume that most of in the room will be familiar with that cool model. So it borrows from Formula One, where every member of the team has a specific task in a very fast way that they focus. And it's all about the scene leadership, the scene management. London Ambulance Service translated this pit crew model into ambulance setting, and I noticed a variety in the service delivery model. In many places in Poland, there was just one ambulance with 2 paramedics doing advanced life support. And it's quite varied in the UK as well, where sometimes you will have numerous resources as in this picture here, where you've got 4 people dealing with cardiac arrest. And in this case, we have the leader sort of on the top of the screen with a checklist, hoping that all tasks are completed at the same time. But the study done by from Australia demonstrated that the cognitive burden, so in other words, how much things you focus on when you're in this situation, you can actually rely on and do. So the leader of advanced life support very quickly gets overwhelmed, and it's sort of human errors. And what they've proven is that introduce a supportive leader to this area, the cognitive burden of the leader will come down and they will perform better. And this is where our proposal and our intervention comes in. So regardless of the service delivery model in the local context, we will have one of the people on scene, we will call them CPR quality officer. And all it means is that as the European Innovation Council suggests that an early identification is the key to patient outcome, and that when you perform this task as a CPR quality officer, you constantly think that CPR is the top priority. So before you start managing the airway, before you do your population, and what else you need to do, you will constantly be reminding the team that is doing that. Let's think about how can we do to limit the impact of this, the quality of it. And when we were developing the idea and the proposed intervention, we had to think how can we inform people, and we also did it, which was very useful to use for some of our students to run it as a trial. And we noticed that if we put sort of CPR checklist, if you like, I know all paramedics know what a good CPR quality is, but if we put a checklist somewhere in the area, right, it's got the list of things that need to happen. They have now that this is lying next to them. They would be prompted to focus on the again. Another thing that came out of the pilot was that it will empower people, especially if you are CPR quality officer, and you work with some more experienced colleagues, or maybe you've never met the person who are working with before, it's the first time, and it does happen in bigger services. It does empower people to armbands on their shoulder, saying CPR quality officer. And another thing that encouraged people to perform better was that they took accountability of the performance. So then, at the end of the job, regardless of the outcome, they will make a note on their patient report from suggesting that this way from the patient, CPR quality. Jan Kowalski was responsible for the quality of CPR. And what's so we've submitted our paper to the legislation and it's being reviewed at the moment. So we can share with you is that we measured the quality of CPR using level CPR software, and the way the study was set up was that all intervention and control group attempted the scenario for the first time, and we didn't train them about, we didn't told them about the CPR quality officer. And then before the second attempt, the control group did the scenario again for the second time, exactly the same scenario. But the intervention group, they had to select the CPR quality officer, they got training, and they had already got again the same scenario. And what we did find is that both groups, control and the intervention groups, achieved improvement in performance, and it was about 1% improvement for the control group, and just over 9% for the intervention group with CPR quality of present in the team. That's the mentioned before. And I hope it helps you to understand what the network is about. We will have a professional conversation, discussion about it now. But just to echo the message from before, we really want to help anyone interested in research. For academics, if they don't know how to contribute, how to publish papers. We work with clinicians who have an idea that they can address, like an example of student student violence. The paramedic who is working on this project had the pleasure of being assaulted while doing this on a placement, and she realized the way how it was dealt with and presented. So now we doing a review about, and we've got that plan for a series of projects to change. Again, what can do speaker and it's about. So get in touch and work with. Thank you very much.
Takie przysłowo podsumowanie, jeżeli chodzi o to, czego nas pewnie być, w ogóle zapomniał, ale publikacja z Physical Quality Officer jest w tym momencie rozpatrywana w oficjalnej gazecie europejskiej Rady Resuscytacji Resuscitation, więc jakby czekamy na opinię recenzentów. No i zobaczymy. Jeżeli chodzi o przełożenie tego badania na tak naprawdę praktyczne podłoże, chciałem też zwrócić uwagę na to, że w kilku miejscach w Nagłych, gdzie MOPEN pracuje, badanie zostaje wykorzystane i wdrożone, wprowadzone normalnie jako część pracy zespołu ratownictwa medycznego, część systemu, czyli ten model jakby żywo działa. Nie jest tak, że to jest tylko i wyłącznie gdzieś tam na papierze ktoś coś zbadał, opublikował i wszyscy o tym zapomnieli, tylko rzeczywiście ten projekt żywy. So I think we can start the third part of our presentation. Your speakers here are from Norway and England. They have a lot of experience in the field of paramedic practice. So I'll try to divide the discussion for the three topics. The first is paramedic education, second one is paramedic practice, and the third one is paramedic research. Of course, we got a specific question to the discussion, but if you want to ask the question at the end of the session, you can do it. So the first, Morten, yes, how do you become a paramedic in your country?
It's two ways. As a paramedic with 180 credits, then you have to go to the university or the higher school for 3 years. But you can also be an EMT and then 2 years at the school and 2 years in ambulance. So you have to fight for education still, but the paramedics with 180 degrees is increasing.
In English?
Yeah, so in the UK, very similar, I guess, to Norway. So in the UK, we've just changed from paramedics having to get a diploma to register as a paramedic, and now having to get a degree. So it's a relatively new thing that we need to get a degree to be a paramedic in the UK. But one of the main routes to do that is a standard 3-year bachelor's degree. So we get students that are sort of registered full-time as full-time students on the course. These are generally the sort of 18, 19-year-olds that have just come out of college, and they do the full degree. Increasingly, though, we're starting to get more and more apprenticeship students. So these are typically EMTs before, so they work for an ambulance service and join an apprenticeship program where they work about 70-80% of the time on an ambulance. So they're employed by an ambulance service. They spend 70-80% of the time with the ambulance service at work, and they come in and do blocks of learning at a university to get to the same level, so they'll still finish with a BSc degree. And yeah, interestingly, they're usually from different backgrounds then, so different ages, and they've got kids and mortgages and that. So yeah, this route is increasing.
We're working on that also in Norway because you have to lift the education level of the EMTs, that you haven't rolled on kind of type of education offered.
Yeah, so a big part of this is upskilling the current workforce, EMTs and things that are have been working in the ambulance service. There's other routes as well, so paramedics without degrees, so they register as a paramedic a few years ago or last year or whenever, and we have like top-up degrees where
It's a pretty big difference between the system because in my country we got one way to become a paramedic. It's at this moment the bachelor degree. We got the technicians a couple of years ago, but I think the situation in the country is great because the 80% of the paramedic experience they take on with the patient inside the ambulance, and it's only 20%. Of course, it's just my opinion. I got 10 years. I worked 10 years at the university, so as an academic, 20% of the experience that you get up to universities, the 80% you get inside the ambulance. So this is the big difference between our systems.
Years ago, we were talking about how to be a paramedic in Norway with Jacek project. And Jacek, maybe you can tell us how to be a paramedic in Norway. And you told me that after 2 years of school, you cannot be a paramedic in Norway. After studies, after a bachelor degree, 3 years. So with a Polish diploma, after 2 years of school, you cannot be a paramedic. Only the studies, 3 years, Polish studies.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's one of the problems we are working on. And also in the Norwegian Paramedics Association, and we are working with the governments and the health society to find a way for both from foreign education and the same for our EMTs in Norway. So I think it has been an answer on that this year, or at least going to be a change. I don't know.
Can I just add, I've got a slightly different perspective from, I used to be at the university, but now I'm back with ambulance service. Part of my role as a head of education, I have to, a big part of my role is to think about the right planning. So in the UK, the ambulance services are matched to form quite big organizations. So they employ from 4,000 to 6,000 people, and we do have to think about how do we address the shortage of paramedics, increasingly, especially since people education criteria for paramedics and other roles. We find that paramedics are quite often giving the job to develop their careers outside of ambulance services, and this is fairly new to the profession. But we also need to think about how to make careers in the ambulance sector more attractive and more accessible to people. And it's a little bit different in the UK and Poland. There are a number of different roles that you can fulfill. So we've got this sort of healthcare assistant level role, which is the entry role of the ambulance, but we very much linked the education and the qualification you have to collect on the way to progress from this entry level assistant role. And then as an employer, I can send a group of people to university for that 2-year apprenticeship, which I think is the way forward. They are still getting paid with the expenses, and that's the income by universities. And it's just so much easier for people. So compared to a bachelor's degree program, it costs about £30,000 to do it versus, it's the employer who the cost.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's interesting with it, to bring it back to the research, is we don't know what the best route is. So all of this is quite new, and they're new pathways. And it's not been kind of evaluated or researched yet. So we can discuss whether we think this route is this route, but there's definitely a gap in the knowledge of the literature. What makes a good paramedic and what education pathway makes a good paramedic.
Also, the differences in this clinical field and the educational field, university. But I think the main problem with the diploma and 2 or 3 years education is the nostrification of diploma. You know, yeah, but we are in the very close connection with Norton. We work together, and I send my students to Oslo Metropolitan University for practicing, and usually to Skobiała. So we try to focus to even with the government standard, with the government standard that is at this moment. So we try to connect those 2 programs.
That's really
I said maybe something from your practicing. You know that I'm the advanced life support person. How is the situation in England? First, about the out of hospital cardiac arrest. I'm asking about the clue about the advanced life support protocols and the rest of it.
It's very similar to the other countries. It's an approach is very different in different areas, very different. But it depends on the area and I suppose the higher the density of the population, the more likely it is to allocate more resources. So not just one ambulance with 2 people. Sometimes there's an ambulance and a car, so we've got the sole responder paramedics who go there. And so ambulance service is usually just about 5 people to the station to do properly before we require attention. I spoke briefly about pit crew model, which is by Money Trust, and something that's I think good from our collaboration when all the businesses observe us working on the CPR Quality Officer project. That checklist, what's that? It looks like a good idea, and now we're looking at actually creating evidence in this making a difference in this situation. Because in the UK, every single number sets to checklist for advanced life supports, and now it's not used, so maybe we can improve the quality. Going back to the advanced life supports, it's very similar guidelines. We use European guidelines as a template, as a framework. Translated into our context, we've got which is very similar to the problem.
And that's because the public guidelines, so more than maybe a few words about the Norwegian guidelines of hospital resuscitation, because I know there are some differences.
Oh, do you think it's different in Norway? Of course it is. We got typical Norway. We got use the same templates that we have instead of 2 minutes resuscitation, we have 3 minutes due to a study from several years ago. And also the medication after the some difference, but otherwise it's the same. And the standard is that we are sending 2 ambulances to a cardiac arrest, and often also the ambulance or the doctor, or the doctor in the but 2 ambulances is often.
So big differences. My background, I worked for 15 years in ambulance services in Poland. It's also known as situation to send 2 ambulances. We've got 1 ambulance, they do this they have to start not to pay resuscitation, advanced resuscitation. The whole protocols, the rest of things were included in the okay, maybe something about the research. Well, okay, then let's say the challenges faced when it comes to
Yeah, so it comes back to a lot of the things we were talking about in the presentation. So, there are, I guess, a lot of challenges to do research, particularly in pre-hospital care. So, firstly, if we go, our history as paramedics, as a profession, we don't have that rich history, I guess, of research that other professions like physicians have because of the education over the years. So I think there's probably a lack of lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, lack of supervision, and things like that. But this is changing, and us here today speaking about it shows in part that the attitudes of this are changing. But yeah, I think there's lots of kind of individual challenges as well. So being in a pre-hospital environment, there are more variables to control and things to kind of worry about in research. So Casper mentioned cost of doing research is really high in pre-hospital care. Funding ethics is difficult. So this is why we really want to use simulation as an environment to do research in. So if we can use a simulated environment where we can control variables, we can easily get ethics, we can reduce the cost of research, then hopefully that means that we can start building a bit more of an evidence base.
I wholeheartedly agree with what Carl says, and the point that he didn't make, that's actually about the practicality of doing it. Research is very complicated, it's complex, and that's why it takes a lot of time to complete it. I think the reality is that paramedics who work in ambulance service, for one, if it's anything like in the UK, you book on shift and you've got the list of calls to attend. You don't really have the downtime that you used to. At least probably similar in areas with high population. Another argument is, continuing on this point, is that even if you did have time, you got the skills and knowledge to actually develop a research idea, develop a research proposal, take it through ethics, as Carl says, and so on. And I think the same point applies to academics. We've got paramedics who are very experienced, they sort of ready to move their career to another setting, maybe. And I don't think there's enough support in higher education in academia to actually give them the skills to contribute to research.
Yeah, so in the UK, in higher education, so in the university, there's a big emphasis on us delivering courses, so student numbers and producing paramedics. So the focus is very much on teaching rather than doing research. So that puts a lot of academics off because they just don't have the time to do it. But I think in terms of the knowledge base of expertise and supervision, certainly in the UK over the last few years, there are a lot more people doing like PhDs in paramedic practice, which we just didn't see, not that long ago. So the amount of people with PhDs in paramedic science is increasing.
And I think also it's important that most of the studies are done by doctors, and that's good, of course. But you are out there, you are the paramedics, you can study on your own work and settings. That's really important.
Yeah, we need to take control of our own research as a profession.
In Norway is Lerdo. Lerdo is simulation. I want to ask you about simulation-based research.
We use some of it, but not much. I think when we started in our quality officer, that was first time for several years that we used as much as we do now. So it's increasing. Also, given this level is in Norway, we don't have any so big contact with now that. So it's increasing, and we're going to do more.
Simulation.
I think it's similar to Norway. I think people are coming with different ways of utilizing simulation-based research to answer these relevant questions. Without repeating what I said in the presentation, in the talk, I think that there's a major opportunity to anyone, and this is something that we probably as a group the grants that are awarded to research groups should be based on the fact that there's less than in simulation at a much lower cost, and obviously it's very competitive to get these big funds. But even if you've got this quite experienced team of researchers working on something in the security room, I think as everyone would like to contribute to research and not something that's to do with the risk and simulation play a huge role in that.
Okay. Education. Practicing hours. Yeah, practicing hours.
Yes. In the UK, it's a bit fluid at the moment. So typically, over a 3-year degree, our students on a standard bachelor's degree probably around 1,500 hours of clinical practice, mainly from an ambulance service and working with a practice educator on an ambulance. So around 500 hours per year with that experience. So this is being reduced, really, I think. So our regulatory body, they don't put a time on it. So there's no specified time that a paramedic needs in their education. Yeah, it's decreasing, and a lot of this is because of the pressure on the system and the amount of practice educators versus the amount of students that we're trying to increase to get more paramedics in the UK.
I think it's quite old. We're moving away from trying to quantify the experience of placement with by number and just almost pretend that someone does 100 hours in an it's more about learning outcomes, and there's an apprenticeship. Good example where I think we starting getting it right, or at least better. We look at this partnership between the learners, the students, the paramedic students, the practice educators, and the mentor on also academic. So we facilitate a meeting between the three of them. And they are, well, it's all about feedback, it's all about recognizing practice, recognizing areas for improvement. And if there is a big plan there, then the action plans are put in place to improve it. But I think with practice-based learning is a very challenging area. Because we just struggle for what students will be exposed to. Some part of the courses will attract very young people on them, and we'll have very young people who have the life experience, getting on and a couple of personal examples where on the very first shift, on the very first job of the arrest, it was very traumatic to the student. And at the same time, I'm still not aware of a qualification, collaborators. We still don't know a typical exposure of a paramedic student. So these days, when everything is tracked, we know what type of jobs different ambulances go to. I think it would be quite easy to follow the journey of the students. What kind of job did they go to? What we didn't see, and then we can close the gap of position between theory and practice. Using simulation, practical sessions, and
I follow on that, and as you said, mind the gap and close the gap. That's important bringing out to the practice field. Norway, in 3 years, you shall be in ambulance for 24 weeks, 3 years, and it's also 12 weeks at the hospital or special center or something, because we want the paramedics also to be outside ambulance.
Just to add to that, well, I think what the big difference between Poland and I think always a little bit more like is that there's people take a 50% split. It varies from year to year, but a typical student will spend half of the time during the degree course out of the ambulance or other, but by and large, most of that 50% of time will be with the ambulance service. And but the do other placement like with different words.
Okay. Have you any opportunities to develop your career, professional career? You can work in your countries after the bachelor degrees in medicine.
Yeah, that's a good question. So in the UK, it's shifting. If we looked a few years ago, most of the paramedics registering as a paramedic, as a newly qualified paramedic, would work in an ambulance service and do 5 years on an ambulance before they consider doing something else. A bit like with the placement, we're trying to encourage our students to graduate and start working in different areas. So paramedics are increasingly being used in things like GP surgery, urgent care centres, community type places, and in hospitals, so emergency departments. So we're trying to diversify as a profession.
Yeah, just to add to what Phil said about that back in the day, not that long ago, maybe, people as paramedics would sign up for life. It was a career that you would join the ambulance service, and you were lucky enough to survive 8 years of career. You retire and you stay with the same employer. It's very, very different. Just adding to what Carl said about different opportunities about career, what might be interesting to our audience is that even within the ambulance service, there are many different roles that you can do. It's kind of captured on the wheel behind us, where you start at the top left corner as a paramedic, and you can develop your skills as identifiers, progress to the team position. You need a small team of paramedics, technicians, and assistants, and you can progress with the leadership and management roles all the way to chief executive, director, and so on. But if you don't like being a manager or being a leader, you can specialize. So Paul mentioned community-based care, primary care. So working more closely with what you normally understand the is now, after a few years of experience, can go back to quite difficult that allows them to prescribe medication. So, and depending on which field they're working, they can prescribe antibiotics, they can prescribe pain management drugs, and so on. But staying within ambulance, they can also focus on paramedic role, and then this is the small group of paramedics that will have extended skills. So we talk about USB, talk about some additional skills to manage airway, and so take that once in leadership, challenging calls, challenging cases. And what's very sort of unique to it, that there's also this role of consultant paramedic. So that's a very strategic senior role that affects not only what the scope of practice for paramedic is, but also on a national level, how the policies are written, what was important. And then just sort of on the other, but we also got the research pathways, the research paramedic projects. But there's also education pathways. We've got education centers for ambulance services, but then we work closely with universities as well. So there's many different roles that you can move about on this field, as Carl was saying before. Move about.
And even rotational roles, so roles that you do clinical practice for 3 months and then come and work in the university and for 3 months and rotate around. Keep it fresh.
Well, we are not there yet. We are hanging a bit back from there, but until last year, registered paramedic should just work in ambulance, but from last year the education changed a bit. So now it's also open for offshore military, the emergency room, and also paramedic have some places. And we also now started with master degrees. We have one already that we do for care, started for in 2014, and maybe across from that not next year, but next year there we also have going to have a master clinical practitioner. It's moving on.
Okay.
Nie ma slogu.
Guys, so it's 19 minutes left. Maybe this is the best time for the questions from the audience. Have you got any questions for us? Who's last? I'll give you the microphone. You can ask the question in Polish language. We can try to translate in English. It's gonna be easier.
Hello. How look like the process to evaluate paramedics in your country? For example, I make my stay job with patient. How look like this?
That's an excellent question. It is a bit different in, and it's quite new in the UK actually. We've got this patient safety framework that is got in England, and is actually legislated that each ambulance service has to have a track record of clinical incidents that involve patients, and there has to be a clear pathway. So basically, we've got a weekly meeting where senior clinicians, for example, I attend these meetings on behalf of education, and together with colleagues from the quality departments, the clinical leaders come in and evaluate what happened, how can we address it, and that there is this growing sense of culture, of organizational learning culture, that we try to learn from mistakes. We are not about to be what happened, why it happened. And by and large, most of the time, if isn't someone has illness or if they're being lazy, just trying to get off, something like that. It's about learning that, okay, is it the guidance that is wrong, or is it the lack of resources available at the time? In most cases at the moment are unfortunately that patients who go for ambulance for 6, 7, sometimes 8 hours, by the time the ambulance gets there, it's that person waiting on the other side. That's the big problem.
Yeah, it's a really good question. So, from a different perspective, so Casper deals with it more for the ambulance service and the legal side of it, I guess. But from an education point of view, it's put into our curriculum. So our students will have modules on like law and ethics and stuff. We do a mock coroner's court. So we have courtrooms, the legal courses at the university. We get our students to go with leasing students as well. And they do a case study, so where something's gone wrong in practice, and they go through the process of what they have to do. I mean, as Casper said, we try to kind of foster this idea of reflective practice and learning from mistakes. It's the same at the university with their education is, reflecting on it in terms of their assessments and stuff as well.
The education in Norway is the same as in England, but when it comes out to practice, that's very different from ambulance service to ambulance service in Norway. It differs very, we don't have any national agreement on how we do it. It's very different. So it's from country to country.
Martin, who takes the responsibility for it? Responsibility. Who takes responsibility for it?
That depends on whose fault it is. And that's the problem, because if you follow guidelines, then it's the hospital and the ambulance service, of course. It is not some places you are on your own.
And how is it in Poland?
Good question.
Yeah.
In Poland, we have
No.
there are no specific system in that country.
I'm not agree.
Each system for first paramedics. I know in UK, Norway, we have no blame card systems. In Poland, impossible.
Very important.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Nope. We will ask about parents.
Maybe just one small suggestion.
Not just the partners? Yes, yes, of course.
I will ask you guys about the paramedics single units, about the doctors units in hospital ambulance service. We have one unit which means is 119 doctor in the Oslo area. This is a new specialist with another extremely good paramedic, like his advanced paramedic CCP. Like, I will maybe more you can try explain what this means and me or to ensure it's we can get a little bit more information about the single units, single events. We can do that. Thanks.
Thank you for the question. Yes, we got a couple of single units with Dr. and paramedic. The 119, as we talk about, is Ullevål University Hospital, and there are also always a doctor from the morning and late evening that's on duty. And the doctor and the paramedics shoot yes, by themselves. And we said 117. That's another car. That's also also in some of the emergency rooms has the doctor on call. That car goes out. In Norway, it's a written rule that every emergency room shall have a doctor that has the possibility to go out. Some follow up, some don't. So some places is the doctor on call in the community, and every air ambulance base in Norway has also a car. So if it's nearby, the helicopter, they take the base car. As example, the air ambulance and the search and rescue helicopters from the military.
And who funds this? So, like, critical care paramedics and HEMS?
Government.
The government.
Yes. Earlier it was foundation from Norwegian Air Ambulance, also a foundation behind, and some of it was paid for by the government. Today it's the government that pays all of it.
And if we go back to the question and slightly change the tone of it, and if we look at physician-led EMS versus non-physician-led, and I know it can be a controversial topic. We need medical doctors in ambulance service or not. I know into different systems in Europe and outside. I think probably the most accurate caricature of the UK EMS is that we don't have physicians. So in the medium-sized ambulance service in the UK, so 4,000 people, we only employ probably less than 5 medical doctors to put in different roles. So we do have a medical director and a couple of medical director deputies. But in terms of the actual service delivery, no medics involved in that, which I think is quite interesting. And again, almost asked to evaluate whether probably a bit more expensive physician-led EMS is actually cost-effective versus a medical.
The project.
That's another project. Let's write it down. Let's add it to the list.
But I can put on one more opinion on the single cars. I think in the future it's going to be more and more single paramedics because of the lack of doctors, the lack of nurses. So it's the paramedic role is increasing in both in the special healthcare, but also in community care. So single paramedics is going to be increasing.
Have you got any questions? Okay, guys, so 8 minutes left, so I think this is the best time for maybe a small summary of the session. Come on, Morten, you first.
What do you want me to summarize? I think it's it was a good session, and I think that the key point is you as paramedics, you can do a lot. You can do research. You are a role in the society. Use it. I think that's start with small research. You don't have to be a PhD to start with research. Ask someone.
English ones?
After this one.
So this is the best part of the session. Without preparation.
I think what it really demonstrates is that the whole principle behind the EPRN is that it's very inclusive, it's very supportive. If you do want to comment, do something about, reach out, let us know, we can work on it together. And especially that I think this group probably has were talking amongst themselves. Said, "Oh, I wonder why we do X, Y. I wonder why we do Y." And I would encourage, every single person to apply this healthy skepticism to what we do, why we do it, why we do it this way. There's actually so little research and evidence available to us. I don't think paramedic curricula are evidence-based, but I think, generally speaking, our guidelines are as evidence-based as they should. And together as the paramedic profession, we can pick holes and gaps in what we say, what we do, and be ambitious about, if you contribute on a day, if every single paramedic one project in the career, we will be very, very different place in a very short time.
Oh.
Yeah, it's following on from both of you really. So when I'm teaching students that they say they're not interested in research, they can spend a lot of time moaning about the ambulance service, moaning about how we do things and things like that. So things that upset them. They moan about how bad sometimes the education is, and I always tell them, well, tell me how to do it better. So that's what the research is. We need to just find ways in which to do it better. As this hopefully has shown you the career framework above me, you don't need to be stuck just being a paramedic. You can expand your career in different pathways. And if we looked at all of our kind of profiles of where we are and where we want to be with our careers, we can all have different kind of profiles and different pathways to expand our knowledge on it.
Ja sobie pozwolę podsumować po prostu. Wcale nie jest takie trudne, żeby robić badania. Do tego nie potrzeba doktoratów, bycia profesorem, jakichś tam dodatkowych literatury nazwisk. Nie robię. Zwróćmy uwagę na to, że tak naprawdę to, co się zaczyna dziać podczas działania tej sieci, to, że staramy się zgromadzić wokół siebie ludzi takich zainteresowani tymi badaniami. Jeżeli macie jakiekolwiek pomysły, to po prostu starajcie się je realizować. To jest bardzo ważne to, o czym Kacper powiedział, że każdy z Was wymyśli jeden temat badawczy, to mamy tyle roboty, że nie jesteśmy w stanie tego specjalnie przerobić. Dlatego myślcie o tym, dlatego że ten rozwój naukowy naprawdę jest bardzo istotny. To nie jest tak, że wytyczne postępowania ratunkowego mają to jest złe. Natomiast to Wy pracujecie z pacjentem. Zwróćcie uwagę na to, że tak naprawdę bardzo dużą przewagę w naszym kraju mają systemy podstawowe. To w ogóle nie ma czego porównywać w porównaniu z tymi specjalistycznymi. To Wy jesteście tym takim głównym filarem systemu, to od Was bardzo dużo zależy. Więc zachęcamy gorąco do tego, żeby podjąć rękawice. Bo to są takie tematy, które naprawdę można zrealizować. Nie ma do tego nie wiadomo jakich pieniędzy, nie wiadomo jakiego doświadczenia. Tak naprawdę macie otwarte drzwi. Zapraszamy.
Thank you guys. It was this time when we got great speakers. and more composite. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hope that next year you will be with us to discuss.
Another guy.
Thank you. Wielkie brawa dla naszych zagranicznych kolegów. Mam nadzieję, że w roku będziemy mogli gościć zagranicznych gości, którzy powiedzą nam o swojej specyfice. Thank you very much, and I would like to invite the next Piotr Świetlicki. Piotr opowie wam o lekach, o wielkiej książce, o problemach, trudnościach dawać, nie dawać, kiedy korzyści przewyższają ryzyko. Więc Piotrze, oddaję ci głos i serdecznie zapraszam. Dziękuję bardzo, Jacku. Oczywiście zawsze wygląda wcześniej, ale teraz przejdę.